All right, so get ready because this is going to be big.
Yeah,
We are diving deep into Tesla's latest event.
absolutely.
And honestly,
Yeah.
they're not just talking about cars anymore. We're talking full-on robot taxi revolution.
Yeah, a full-on revolution.
You guys sent over a stack of articles that paint a pretty wild picture of the future.
Definitely a wild future.
So buckle up.
Yeah.
Let's break it all down.
Yeah, it's not even just about the cars themselves. The really interesting part is how Tesla is really weaving together all these different types of technology, like electric vehicles, self-driving AI, even robotics. It's really a glimpse into a future that could be radically different from what we're used to.
Totally. And they are not shying away from bold moves. Case in point,
Yeah.
the Cyber Cab. No steering wheel, no pedals.
Wow.
Can you even picture this? You basically summon it like an Uber, hop in, tell it where to go, and off you go.
And you're off.
Catch up on emails, watch a movie, I don't know, learn to play the ukulele.
Right.
Who knows what you could do with all that free time?
All that free time.
Yeah.
And what's really interesting is the price point they're targeting, under $30,000,
Really?
which, if they can pull that off, that could be a game changer for car ownership.
Wow.
Imagine a world where owning a car is no longer a necessity, but a choice.
Yeah. And it seems like they're already putting their money where their mouth is. They had prototypes of this cyber cab cruising all around the event. They even gave Elon Musk a ride.
They did.
Yeah.
Wow.
And aesthetically, they're going for that same sci-fi vibe as the Cybertruck, which I'm sure is getting people talking.
Yeah, it's all about building that cohesive brand identity, like a vision of the future that's sleek, futuristic, and undeniably Tesla.
Totally.
But let's dig into the tech behind this vision a little bit here. Specifically, Tesla's claim of achieving unsupervised full self-driving.
Okay, so this is where things get really, really interesting. So they're saying their cars will be able to drive themselves completely autonomously with no need for human intervention. And they're aiming to roll this out in places like Texas and California as early as next year.
Ambitious.
I know. Though I know better than to take Elon's timelines at face value these days.
Right. A little healthy skepticism is always warranted. Even tech analyst Ming-Chi Kuo, who's often pretty optimistic about Tesla, he predicts mass production more likely by 2027.
Okay.
But what is clear is that Tesla is betting big on their ability to make this vision a reality.
For sure. And their secret weapon, data.
Yes.
Mountains and mountains of data. They're using the millions of Teslas already on the road as like this giant data gathering network.
Yes.
Training their AI to handle all kinds of real-world driving situations.
Right, because think of it like this. Every mile driven by a Tesla is basically a learning experience for their AI.
Yeah.
So they're essentially building the driver with millions of hours of experience, constantly adapting and improving.
Wow. It's a bold approach, especially when you consider that most other companies are using expensive LiDAR sensors.
Yeah.
So how does this vision-based AI actually work?
So imagine teaching a computer to see and understand the world like we do. So instead of relying on radar or LiDAR, which measures distance with lasers, Tesla's system uses cameras to capture a 360-degree view around the car. Their AI then processes these images, identifying objects, tracking their movements, and ultimately making decisions based on this visual data.
So it's literally like giving the car a brain that learns and interprets the world through sight, much like humans do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a fascinating approach. And it's potentially much cheaper than these LiDAR-based systems. But it's not without its critics.
Right.
Some experts argue that relying solely on cameras can be limiting, especially in challenging weather conditions or low-light situations where visibility is poor.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's definitely a gamble. But Tesla seems pretty convinced that this is the future. And they're not stopping at just cars. Get this. They also unveiled a driverless van. The Robo van.
Now, this is where things get really exciting, especially for anyone who's ever been stuck on a crowded bus. We're talking about a vehicle that can carry up to 20 people on demand, potentially revolutionizing public transportation as we know it.
Yeah, and Musk even threw out some numbers claiming these robot taxis could cost as little as 20 cents per mile to operate.
Yeah.
Compare that to like $1 per mile for a traditional bus system.
Wow.
If those numbers hold true, we are talking about a potential seismic shift in how we think about public transit.
Absolutely. Imagine cities designed around efficient on-demand transportation, with fleets of these robo-vans just whisking people around, reducing traffic, freeing up urban space. It's really a tantalizing vision of a future where getting from A to B is easier, cheaper, and maybe even enjoyable.
That would be nice.
Right.
But it also makes you wonder, if we are moving towards a future where cars can drive themselves, where does that leave us, the drivers? What happens to all those jobs, all that infrastructure that's built around human drivers?
Right, those are the big questions we're going to be grappling with. And Tesla didn't stop there. Remember Optimus? Their humanoid robot.
How can I forget?
Well, it wasn't just making a cameo appearance this time. They actually put it to work.
I did see that video of Optimus making a cocktail. It seems like Tesla is taking this whole robots are the future thing pretty seriously. But how does this all tie back to self-driving cars? They seem like totally different beasts.
On the surface, sure. But if you look a little bit closer, you'll see that the technologies underpinning Optimus, things like computer vision, object manipulation, even decision-making, are all directly relevant to autonomous driving.
Okay, so it's not just about building a cool robot. It's about developing these core technologies that can be applied across a whole range of fields, really pushing the boundaries of what's possible in AI and robotics.
Exactly. And that's what makes this whole event so fascinating. Tesla isn't just unveiling new products.
Yeah.
They're showcasing a vision of the future where technology, from self-driving cars to humanoid robots, is really going to reshape our world in some really profound ways.
Yeah. It's a lot to unpack, that's for sure. But we're just getting started. After a quick break, we'll dive even deeper into the potential implications of Tesla's robot taxi revolution, exploring the challenges, the criticisms, and what it all means for you, so don't go anywhere.
Okay, so we've established that Tesla is aiming for the moon here. But it's not just about the cool tech and futuristic vehicles, right? These innovations could have massive ripple effects on everything, from the environment to the job market.
Absolutely. Take the environmental impact, for example. Musk argues that a shift to electric autonomous vehicles is essential for combating climate change.
Okay.
Fewer gas-guzzling cars on the road. Optimize routes for efficiency. Potentially even like a reduction in the need for parking lots, which gobble up green spaces in cities.
Yeah. I mean, who hasn't dreamed of replacing those concrete jungles with parks and trees?
Yeah.
But let's talk about the elephant in the room for a second. What happens to all the people who make a living driving? Truck drivers, taxi drivers, even delivery drivers. These are jobs that could be automated out of existence. Yeah, it's a valid concern,
Right.
and one that we really can't afford to ignore. The transition to an autonomous future is going to require some significant societal adjustments, including retraining programs and support for displaced workers.
Yeah, for sure. It's a huge challenge, but it's also an opportunity. What if we could create a future where people are freed from these mundane or even dangerous jobs, allowing them to pursue more fulfilling work?
It's a utopian vision for
Yeah.
sure, but not entirely out of reach. But let's get back to Tesla's strategy here. One thing that I think is really interesting is their focus on building this complete ecosystem, rather than just individual products.
Okay, break that down for me. What do you mean by ecosystem in this context?
Well, so think about it. Tesla owners are already part of a network, right?
Right.
Their cars are constantly collecting and sharing data, receiving over-the-air software updates that improve performance and add new features. It's a very dynamic, interconnected system that's constantly evolving.
So it's not just about the car itself, it's about being plugged into this larger Tesla universe. But how does that tie into their robo-taxi ambitions?
This is where it gets really interesting. Imagine a future where, through your Tesla app, you could easily register your car to be part of the robo-taxi fleet when you're not using it.
Wait, so you're saying my car could be out there giving rides and earning me money while I'm at work?
Exactly.
That's wild.
And it gets even more intriguing. Tesla could potentially even integrate with existing ride-sharing platforms, like Uber or Lyft.
Wow. So they become both a competitor and a potential partner. Talk about shaking up an industry.
Precisely. And this distributed network model, where they can leverage millions of privately owned Teslas, gives them a significant advantage in terms of scalability. They don't need to build a massive fleet from scratch. They can tap into this existing network of vehicles.
Yeah, it's almost like they've been playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers.
Sure.
But this whole approach hinges on one crucial factor: safety. And let's be honest, Tesla's track record with their current full self-driving system has been a bit rocky.
There's certainly been some high-profile incidents, and plenty of skepticism from experts who just argue that the technology isn't ready for prime time.
Right. A lot of critics point to the fact that their current system still requires human drivers to intervene fairly regularly, which doesn't exactly scream fully autonomous.
Yeah, it's a legitimate concern. However, it's worth noting that Tesla's approach to self-driving is fundamentally different from many of their competitors.
Okay.
They're betting big on this vision-based AI. using cameras and powerful algorithms to navigate the world, while others are relying on a combination of cameras, radar and LiDAR.
Okay, so a quick explainer for those of us who aren't engineers. What exactly is LiDAR, and why is Tesla so against using it?
LiDAR stands for light detection and ranging. It's
Wow.
essentially a system that uses lasers to create a very detailed 3D map of the surrounding environment.
Okay.
It's very accurate, but it's also very expensive.
So Tesla's going for a more elegant, potentially cheaper solution, relying on their AI to interpret the world through cameras, much like humans do. But is it good enough?
That's the million-dollar question. Tesla argues that their vision-based system, combined with their massive data sets and over-the-air updates, allows them to constantly improve and adapt their technology at a pace that traditional automakers simply can't match.
It's like they're constantly learning and evolving, which makes sense when you think about how quickly software can be updated and improved these days.
Exactly. But it's still a gamble. And the stakes are incredibly high.
Yeah.
If they can pull it off, Tesla could revolutionize transportation as we know it.
Yeah.
But if they get it wrong, the consequences could be severe.
It's a high-risk, high-reward scenario. But let's not forget about Optimus for a second, and the role robotics plays in all of this.
Ah, yes, the humanoid robot. It's easy to dismiss Optimus as a publicity stunt. But I think it's a mistake to underestimate the significance of what Tesla is doing in the field of robotics.
Because what's so special about Optimus, it's not like we haven't seen robots before.
Right, but it's not just about building a robot that can walk and talk. It's about developing these really advanced capabilities in areas like dexterity, object recognition, and decision-making. And guess what? Those skills are directly transferable to self-driving cars.
Okay, so now I'm starting to see the bigger picture here. They're not just building these separate products, they're developing these interconnected technologies that all feed into each other.
Exactly. And that's what makes Tesla such a fascinating case study. They're not afraid to push boundaries, to challenge conventional thinking, and to bet big on the future.
Yeah, and they're definitely not afraid to stir up a little controversy along the way.
A little bit of controversy never hurts.
But let's face it, that's part of what makes them so interesting to follow. It's almost like watching this high-stakes game unfold, right?
Yeah.
Tesla's making these big bets, pushing the boundaries of technology, and the whole world is kind of watching to see if they succeed or crash and burn.
Yeah, it's a bold strategy for sure. And it is important to acknowledge that not everyone is completely convinced. Like, there are legitimate concerns out there about safety,
Yeah.
ethics, and the potential societal impact of such a radical shift in technology.
Yeah, we can't just gloss over those concerns. So let's dive into some of the challenges and some of the criticisms surrounding Tesla's vision a little bit here.
Yeah.
One of the biggest ones, of course, is safety. Can we really trust these self-driving systems with our lives?
Right, it's a question that keeps coming up, and rightfully so. There have been accidents involving Tesla's autopilot and full self-driving systems, and those incidents understandably make people nervous.
Yeah, especially when you consider that Tesla's relying on this purely vision-based approach, while a lot of other companies are using LiDAR as kind of a safety net. Are they cutting corners to save costs? Or are they onto something that other companies haven't quite grasped yet?
Well, it's a bit of both, actually. I mean, LiDAR is undeniably accurate for mapping the environment, but it's also incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
Tesla argues that their vision beam system, powered by AI, and fed by this constant stream of real-world data from all those cars, is not only more scalable, but ultimately more capable.
Because it's learning and adapting all the time, right?
All the time.
Every mile driven by a Tesla contributes to the collective knowledge of their AI. It's almost like having a million student drivers out there, all learning from each other's experiences.
Exactly. And with every over-the-air software update, those lessons get instantly shared across the entire fleet.
Wow.
So even though there might be, some bumps in the road along the way, the system is designed to learn from its mistakes and get better over time.
Okay. It's a compelling argument, but it also requires a certain leap of faith, doesn't it?
It does.
We're essentially trusting that Tesla's AI will eventually be able to handle any situation, as well as or even better than a human driver.
Right. It's a bet on the future, that's for sure. And only time will tell if it pays off. But it is also important, I think, to remember that this technology also has the potential to make our roads safer.
Yeah.
I mean, human error is a factor in the vast majority of car accidents. So a system that could reduce or even eliminate those errors could potentially save countless lives.
No doubt, that's a powerful argument and one that's hard to ignore. But even if we accept the premise that self-driving technology can be safe, there are still these broader societal implications to consider. What happens to the trucking industry, the taxi industry, even the food delivery industry, when we have fleets of autonomous vehicles on our roads?
These are really complex questions without easy answers. Like, the reality is that some jobs will inevitably be displaced by automation.
Sure.
But it's not necessarily doom and gloom scenario. History has shown us that technological advancements often create new opportunities and new industries that we couldn't have even imagined before.
Yeah. Think about the internet, for example.
Yeah.
Disrupted countless industries. But it also created entirely new fields of work, new ways of life even.
Exactly. And this shift towards autonomy could be just as transformative. Imagine cities with less traffic congestion, reduced pollution, and increased accessibility for people who are currently unable to drive themselves. These are just a few of the potential benefits that this technology could unlock.
Yeah, it's an exciting vision of the future, but it's also a little bit daunting, right?
It is.
It feels like we're on the cusp of this major societal shift. And it's hard to know what the long-term consequences will be.
Yeah, that's the nature of progress, I suppose. It's rarely a smooth or predictable journey. But by engaging with these questions, by exploring the potential benefits and the challenges, we can at least try to make more informed decisions about the kind of future we want to create.
That's what makes this deep dive so fascinating. We've gone beyond the headlines, beyond the hype, and really grappled with some of the complexities of Tesla's vision.
We really have. I mean, we've explored the technology, the economics, the ethics, and the potential impact on society as a whole.
It's a lot to take in. But hopefully we've given you, our listener, plenty to ponder.
I hope.
Because ultimately, this isn't just about Tesla, right? It's about the future of transportation, the role of technology in our lives, and the choices we make as a society.
Choices that will shape the world for generations to come.
So as you continue to read about these developments, as you witness this technology kind of unfolding in real time, ask yourself, what kind of future do you want to be a part of? What role do you want technology to play in your life?
Those are great questions.
We've reached the end of our deep dive, but the conversation obviously doesn't end here. Keep exploring, keep asking those tough questions, and keep imagining the possibilities. Until next time, happy driving.